Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Creeps, Creatures, and Haunts.
Oh my.
In today's episode, we are going to be discussing an Indonesian, really popular Indonesian spirit folklore myth known as two different names. And, let me try and say this again. How was it said?
Kuntilanak.
The Kuntilanak.
That's the Indonesian version. And then there's also a Malaysian version, which is the Pontianak.
The Pontianak, yeah. It's going to be fun to keep saying these and not continuously, because there's K's, at the end, so, if you look at it, if you were to pronounce it, in English, it would be, I don't even know, Kuntilanak, but, apparently the K is silent, at the end, so that was interesting.
Yeah.
To see. And Kim recently heard about this from, what show was it?
I was watching that show on Travel Channel and Discovery Plus. It's called Paranormal Caught on Camera. And there was a guy in Indonesia who was investigating a area that is supposed to be a area that this creature lives, and he claims that he caught it on camera, and it's basically their version of the Lady in White. You know how America has the Lady in White that stands there and steals children and does stuff like that. It's kind of like their version of it, just a little bit darker.
I don't even know if I'm familiar with the Lady in White folklore.
It's mostly the kind of where she yeets her baby off of a bridge and stuff like that. That kind of Lady in White.
Because we have one which maybe we do a future episode there of haunted adventures. If you don't watch that show, you should watch it. It's where we go actual ghost hunting.
Yeah.
But it's Egypt Road by me.
Yeah.
There's a Crybaby Bridge, of course there is, but there's a lot of freaky stuff that happens on there. And we have a Lady of the Mist.
Yeah.
And she's supposedly the person that threw her baby over the bridge and all of that kind of thing. That place is super creepy, though.
It is very creepy. I remember walking around there with you guys years ago, and it was very unnerving.
Oh, yeah, it's very unnerving. Well, so we went there the one time at night, and when we pulled over, someone came running out of the woods, screaming, basically, just screaming. I don't know what they were screaming. We drove away really quick, because there were no other cars there that freaked us out. And then a few days later, they found someone that had, been murdered in a van there. So creepy area, so that's why I'm I don't know if I feel like going there at night or not, but it definitely is very popular, but they don't really like you going there. But that being said, I guess we will kind of just get into talking about this creepy thing, and so the Kuntilanak, however you say it, is a mythological creature in Indonesia and Malaysia and in Singapore. It is similar to, Langusira, I don't know, in other Southeast Asian regions. It usually takes the form of a pregnant woman who is unable to give birth to a child. Alternatively, it is often described as vampiric, vengeful female spirit. Another form of the Pontianak refers to the ghost of the White Lady of Southeast Asian folklore. This figure also named after the province of Western, all of these things, Kalimantan region of Borneo.
Your typical white lady, she's dressed in white. Sometimes she's in a gown or something like that. They said that there's some weird stuff, long hair, of course. In that video that I saw on that show, she did have a long dress on, almost like a long nightgown, and then she had her hair just kind of in her face, and it was kind of weird because it did look real. I don't know if this video was real or not, but it looked really creepy because she was just kind of he turned the corner and there's a door. And this woman is just kind of floating, beyond the door, into this next room or whatever. And she's floating in the air. She was probably 3 feet off the air, ground. And she's just floating there and just standing there. And then she kind of turns a little bit and then goes up into the ceiling and just disappears. And of course he freaks out and he just bolts. He just goes. But it was really a creepy video. Like, I kept watching it and trying to see if it was CGI or maybe like a puppet or something on a string. But I mean, it actually went through the ceiling. Like, you could see the ceiling and this thing just go into it. It was pretty creepy. Yeah, so she's basically a vengeful female spirit that, what I read is that she, one of the versions of the legend is that she has a stillborn child in her stomach and she can't give birth to it. So yeah, she's just kind of pissed at men in general.
Yeah, so like, and I guess there have been movies based about it, but like, man, like reading like stuff about this really gave me like ideas of just some like just real visceral imagery. Like just like this is gross, but I just think would be like a real freaky horror creature. Like, imagine where it's like this ghost and you can actually like see the baby, like her stomach's almost translucent, and you could see this thing inside her. Imagine this gross creature like with like long nails, and there's like it sounds like if you're a gamer at all, it sounds like something from the video game Bloodborne, like that would be in there. It's just this awful thing with this like just child in her.
She is known to have like really long fingernails because she uses those to disembowel her victims so she can eat their organs.
It's really crazy to me because, like, let's be real, like, this is not a thing that I don't think has ever probably happened. But, like, these stories, like, wait, man, it really, really kind of, is a detail in how she, like, murders these people and stuff. Like, I'm not saying that ghosts aren't real, but, like, some kind of, like, ghost lady with giant fingernails with a stillborn baby that, like, rips you apart and eats you. Like, I don't know about that. I don't know if I think that's real. It says that, nearby, like, you hear the infant crying and the smell of decaying corpse or the plumeria flower.
Yeah. And if you hear it, this is the thing that I thought was weird. If you hear the baby crying, like, really loudly, that means that she's far away. But if you hear the baby crying, like, really quietly, that means that she's closer to you. Which is really unnerving because normally it's the opposite. You're like, oh no, she's far away, and it's like, no, she's like right there. But that's kind of creepy.
Also great for a movie idea.
Yeah,
for like this spectral being, like just. I mean, I always find it really creepy in games or in horror movies where there's just like ghost babies like crying, like the sound of a baby crying, like because just by nature it is something it's unnerving because, when you hear a baby crying, that means there's something wrong with the child and you need to take care of it.
Yeah.
So, like, when you put it in, like, a creepy context, it's, like, extra creepy because it's already a sound that's supposed to make you alert.
Yes.
And, ready to, like, help or fix something. But then when it's mixed with being helpless and something coming after you, psychologically, I find that really scary.
Yeah.
There was, which is so sad that you can't play it anymore, but this game PT, and like not much really happens in this. It's a playable trailer. I don't know if anyone listening to this or watching this has ever played this, but you basically just walk around in this hall, like there's a couple hallways, and you just keep walking around in them. But eventually there's this fridge hanging from the ceiling with a crying baby inside of it, and it's just swinging around. And I played it alone, and it bothered me so bad. Because you just hear it just will not stop crying, and the fridge is just swinging from the ceiling, and blood is like oozing out of the fridge. It is so unnerving and odd. Because it was actually it was a playable trailer for a teasing for Silent Hills, which never came out, and then they took the demo off the marketplace. And when I got my PS5, they made it so like you can never download it again, and and it's not compatible with the PS5, so I can never play it again because I had to wipe my PS4 before I sold it.
Oh wow!
Which makes me sad.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, that is a bummer. But all that saying that I find babies crying creepy.
Yeah.
And also annoying. Like, if a baby's crying at a restaurant, I would really like the Pontiac to come, or the Pontiana, whatever her name is, to come take that thing out of there, please. Like.
But she doesn't go after babies. That's the
I
thing.
know.
She goes after
Just
men.
males. Well, then get the father that's letting it cry. I just want to enjoy my steak.
There's also a town in Kalimantan?
Who knows? Kalimantan,
and it's called the Pontiana. And it was supposedly founded and infested with ghosts for some reason. This guy came in and chased the ghosts away. But then this...
Sayoth Abdurrahman Al-Qadri.
I wasn't even going to try to do that. Props
Sorry.
to you. I was just going to be like, this guy.
Yeah, I thought it'd be fun.
This guy came in.
I thought it'd be fun to just say and butcher his name.
Yeah, and he, like, chased the ghosts away, but then they still overtook the town, and it's supposed to still be haunted by this creature, and it's out in the woods somewhere, like, covered in trees and stuff like that, which is really weird that they would name a town after this like mythical creature.
It's covered in trees, in tradition to shoot, because I guess like it doesn't make all that much sense. He was trying to fend it off from the spirits, and after 2 shots were fired at the exact same spot, then he had planned to construct the foundation of a mosque and pass there at the forest. So I guess there's like they have like a ritual where they like shoot at carbide cannons from logs to pay tribute to the Sultan. It's just I don't know if it's still a tradition that's followed, but it says it was a tradition to do that there. I want fun traditions like close by us. Like we don't, we're in America. We don't have like we have lots of ghost stories. We don't have like much folklore and all, just because how America is. I think it'd be cool to like attend like these like ritualistic festivals and stuff like that. That is like. Some of these cultures, like, straight up really believe, like, this kind of thing. Like, we do have things like the Mothman Festival and that, of course, but, like...
Like, during the holiday season, I mean, like, Germany and East, European countries, they, like, have, like, Krampus festivals everywhere, where they just beat people with sticks and stuff like that. I want to get
beat by a stick by a big old, like, Santa demon. That'd be fun.
Yeah, it'd be fun. So, okay, a little bit more into this. Basically, this is a vampire-looking woman. She also only appears during a full moon. Like I said, she has long fingernails, long hair. She likes to disembowel her victims. Apparently, she lives in banana trees.
Yeah, what the hell is that about?
I'm like, okay. She just, like, goes and climbs inside a banana tree and hangs out in there during the day, and then she pops out, like, at night.
It says that sometimes she can appear as a beast or a ghost as well.
Yeah.
Resembling Dracula. Another thing that I see is on here about, like, this was weird. Some sources also state that a dog howling at night indicates the Pontiana is present, but not too close. If the dog whines, then the Pontiana is near. Its presence is also said to be heralded by a floral fragrance, which is that plumeria flower, and of course in the corpse. Yeah, she likes to remove organs from people. Like, this is like a lot of like awful things that this thing does.
Yeah. Apparently, you can tame the Pontiana by driving a nail into the hole in the nape of her neck, which will cause her to become a beautiful woman and a good wife until you remove the nail.
Yeah, until you remove the nail, and then... Which is... What the hell?
Like why would you remove the nail?
Like, you put the nail, and, like, why would you... Okay, so, like, this crazy demon vampire lady's trying to kill you. You put a nail in her neck, and then she's like... All right, time to be a wife. And I'm like, what? Why is that what happens? Why doesn't she die? Why doesn't she just, like, I don't know, be paralyzed until you remove the nail? But nope, she turns into a housewife.
Yeah, like, like in the vampire lore, you'd drive a stake into a vampire's heart. Most of them just won't move.
Nope, she cooks you pancakes.
She cooks you pancakes.
She cooks you pancakes, you're a happy man.
Yeah.
And then one day, fucking Steve comes over... And he's like, "Oh man,
your
wife, she has something on her neck," and he helps her out because he's trying to get with your wife because Steve's not a good guy.
Yeah.
And now your wife's a bloodthirsty demon, and you and Steve are both dead. Yeah, fucking Steve.
Bummer.
Also, this is interesting. The Paniana is said to locate her prey by the scent of their clean laundry. Because of this, some Malaysians refuse to leave any piece of clothing outside their house overnight. A lot of things this creature does. I don't really know the correlations too much. Like, why clean laundry? Like,
and it says that it also can appear as a bird.
Oh, yeah.
And suck the blood out of virgins and young women.
And it states, and this is from Wikipedia, by the way, the bird which makes a kee 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 sound as it flies. So she also has some succubus vibes here going on.
Yeah.
Because I guess succubuses, according to what we do in the shadows, are bird people. And they
Yeah. Sometimes they can have forms of birds and chickens and.
want to do an episode on succubuses.
Yeah.
I think we really talked about that.
Succubi?
We'll have like our favorite demons episode. That sounds fun.
Okay.
We're gonna have that, and it's
Okay.
going to be called Our Favorite Demons because that's a
like
great title.
My favorite demon.
My favorite It's like like My
favorite
Little
Martian.
Yeah, or I was gonna say like My Little Pony. My favorite demon. That'd
My
be fun.
little demon.
Yeah.
There actually is like a person that does that. It's versions of My Little Ponies with their demons.
That's cute.
Yeah, they're pretty adorable. Like she just totally like redoes the actual My Little Ponies into the demons and stuff, and repaints them and everything. They're really cool. Anyway,
Yeah. Also, but it says like when she's in bird form, she may be sent through black magic to make a woman fall ill. The characteristic symptom being vaginal bleeding. When a man approaches her in female form, so this is confusing. Let me reread
yeah,
this.
it's very confusing.
Commonly takes form of a bird and sucks the blood of virgins. So now she just only wants virgins, not just men. Makes the key sound. May be sent through black magic to make women fall ill. The characteristic symptom being vaginal bleeding. When a man approaches her in her female form, the Pontiana, whatever, suddenly turns and reveals that her back is hollow, much like the Sundel Bolong, the prostitute ghost, with her large gaping hole on her back. And then she can be doomed by plunging a sharp nail into the top of her head. So this is like a really confusing thing. So I guess that sometimes she like basically, she's like a siren. She lures you in, and then she's like, "Ha, I'm actually going to kill you." After she's done flapping around like a bird, I guess.
So weird.
Yeah.
Like, how many people were like killed because they had their period, and they're like, "Oh no, it's the Kuntilanak."
She's
That's
like a
really
shark.
Weird.
Don't go.
She's a shark with really long nails and a
Yeah.
gaping hole in her back.
Well, yeah, it's like really confusing. Like, does she kill the woman before she pretends to be her? Probably. That kind of sounds like what it's going on.
Flies around and makes weird noises and. I don't know. I should have drew something like just with all these descriptions. This thing would be like messed up looking.
That can be your project. This video won't be coming up for a while, so you get to draw a thumbnail for this thing. There you go. Yeah, just make sure that YouTube doesn't demonetize us. Just make it black and white. It'll be like scary stories to tell in the dark.
All right.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. And it'll be the thumbnail, but then I'll probably also insert it here. Because if you're listening to a podcast form, you can go watch the video form. And you aren't seeing our wonderful Christmas decorations. Like, I don't know how well you can see it. Maybe I'll especially when we do the haunt talk thing, make sure because we'll have a couple episodes, at least 2. We don't know how many we'll get to, but at least 2 of going to like haunted houses during Christmas. We have like cute little ornaments and stuff like Bigfoot, the ghost. There's a little alien. There's a little yeti right here. She has a TARDIS.
Sanderson.
Yeah, there's a unicorn.
There's a unicorn, an alien, a TARDIS.
Yeah, so we're just describing things to you if you're not watching. And that is fine if you're not watching this, if you like to listen to podcast form, but I do insist that you go to the YouTube channel to watch the other videos that are not a podcast.
Yeah.
And something interesting, I was reading an article of someone who basically wrote theories on the folklore, basically correlating that the Pontiana or the Kuntilanak is... These countries have like a lot of Indonesia and that have... a lot of statistically bad things happening to like women with like stillbirth and stuff like that. It says that the Indonesia Health Ministry data shows the maternal mortality rate in 2015 reached 305 per 100,000 live births. Wow. The average rate in the Asia Pacific region in 2015 was 127, while the average in developed countries is only 12 per 100,000 births. So like the percentage there is a lot higher, so that a lot of times like these folklores in like countries develop from actual problems, kind of like when we were talking with the Wendigo from like cannibalism in times of like starvation and that, and it kind of sounds like this thing with this vengeful stillborn mother coming after men, all of that kind of thing, because women are kind of suppressed, and at least like when this became a legend, maternal health care and that kind of thing was probably bad. People weren't getting what they need, so that's why so many babies are, dying during birth. And obviously, if women that have that are obviously very upset.
Yeah.
In kind of in things like that. So that's kind of where this person is saying there's like this is kind of where the correlation is for some of that. Showed the top 2 causes of deaths in 2013. This is the top 2 causes of death in Indonesia. I presume here were postpartum bleeding and preeclampsia. This 30.3% it says in 2013 was postpartum bleeding, and preeclampsia is 27.1. These deaths could have been avoided had the women had access to proper care.
Wow.
So that's always something we kind of find interesting too when we explore these type of topics. Is kind of like why this folklore might exist, and I mean that's pretty startling data to kind of look at. That's like 305 out of 100,000 might not seem like a much, but when the average in like developed countries, so like U.S. or whatever, is only 12 per 100,000 live births, that's a pretty high number, honestly.
Yeah.
And especially for the top 2 causes of death being postpartum bleeding, like that's because like the first statistic is just if the baby doesn't make it, but then like there's all of these moms at least in 2013 that just weren't making it. But yeah, I don't know, the legend of this thing I just think is very interesting, kind of sad, kind of crazy, and all over the place. There's just this happens a lot with folklore though, where there's just so many different stories. Like what on earth is about the banana tree? I don't really know where that came from. I mean, maybe someone saw it by a banana tree once, and that's why it's in this article.
They're like, oh, it must live there. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
And that I mean, that's like pretty much any like legend or anything like that. A lot of people like if something's seen one time and like buy something like this, or if maybe someone smelled something at a certain time, then they associate it with that kind of like Bigfoot's always associated with like certain like kind of bad like wet dog smell, kind of thing like that. And like maybe he does smell like that, but a lot of times all it takes is for one person to have like this kind of sensory experience while seeing some kind of thing, and then it becomes known as, oh, that's what this is. But yeah, so that pretty much, for the most part of what we looked up, and that's the folklore of that. We do want to kind of touch on some other similar tale, some folklore of women in white, essentially, because that is Indonesia's version of the woman in white. Now, there's one for pretty much every country, so we're not going to cover all of them. We just kind of picked some that we found interesting, and maybe in the future we'll do other episodes where we go more in depth on different ones and stuff like that, because we were looking at the United States, and it was like every state you said pretty much had its different one.
Practically every state has some sort of thing, or like numerous versions of a white lady.
Yeah, so let us know if that is something you would like to see us do, like maybe like go over like quick, like basically do a quick synopsis of everyone in the United States. But yeah, we'll talk about some of our favorites here that we saw from other countries.
So, I put down a few that I thought were kind of interesting. Brazil has one that is a pale woman in a long white dress or sleeping gown. Most of the time, the woman is related to a violent death of some sort. Most of them have been associated with honor killings by the father or husband of this woman. Honor killings were done if you were suspected or you actually were an adulterer, if you were denying your husband of sex, or he was abusing you. Which, I mean, wow, thanks. Yeah, kill me.
Well, it says denial of sex or abuse. So, like, does that mean, like, denial of abuse? Like, you're like, please stop abusing me, and he's like, oh, gotta kill you now.
I don't know.
Japers. And what is this thing called? The Dama Branca? I think is what this thing is called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dama Branca or Mujer
de Branca. I don't know.
Yeah. In a book called Euripus,
yeah.
A young woman was starved to death by her husband because the husband suspected her of cheating with a slave. He killed the slave and then fed his flesh to his wife. So she basically refused to eat it after she figured out, oh, oops, this is my supposed lover. And starved to death.
Yeah, there's some... Some wild things.
There's, of course, one in Canada where it was a grieving bride leapt to her death in her wedding dress. The Czech Republic had one that was a cursed lady who, her husband was dying on his death. He's on his deathbed, and he asked for forgiveness for treating her like shit all these years that they were married. And she refused, and so
Good.
right before he died, he cursed her, and now she is cursed to roam the castle that they lived in for all eternity, and so she's this woman in white that's at this castle.
A lot of these are kind of sexist, huh?
They are very sexist.
Wow.
There's a couple in Malta that I thought were pretty interesting. The first one was a woman was engaged to marry someone she didn't love, so she decided to just jump from a balcony and kill herself on her wedding day. And she's been seen in her wedding dress walking around where she was supposed to be getting married. The other one was a woman was killed by her lover after she was forced to marry another man. This one actually appears to children under the age of 8, heartbroken teenage boys, and elderly men. The children, she just kind of like pats them on the head and said, "Oh, you're adorable. Go scamper away," or whatever. The teenage boys and the elderly, she tries to get them to join her in her, and this is what they said, join her in her shadow. So basically, kill yourself. Tough luck, you're not going to find love. Come join me.
Yeah. And again, the reoccurring theme here, well, especially with these ones that you just said, definitely tend to be that, I guess, men are assholes, especially olden times, whatever, a lot of these, are 1400s and stuff like that. What? Because, the one, it's just all of, the Brazil one, you expect them of adultery or whatever, you just murder them. And I don't understand what honor killings mean exactly,
Basically, it's disgraceful to the family if you do something that is, not the norm. It's very scandalous if you, cheat on your husband or, do something like that. A lot of countries have that, where they will do honor killings, where they think that it's okay, even though it's really not, because you're literally killing somebody because you think, this will bring honor back to my family if I get rid of the person that has been dishonoring our name.
Right. Well, this isn't a practice anymore, but a lot of other countries, I'm sure that still, but
there was actually, I just watched a thing not too long ago. It was some crime show or something like that, where this family that was from, I don't remember what country, a Middle Eastern country of some sort. They were in America, and they actually killed their daughter because she didn't want to follow their rituals of getting married to a certain person. She was supposed to have be married to somebody and all this other stuff. And she's like, no, we're in America now. I want to live like an American. I don't want to do this kind of stuff. And the parents actually murdered her. And it was actually caught on her cell phone, I believe. For some reason, she had her cell phone on or something like that, and you can actually hear major evidence that was put into this case and how they figured out that it was the parents and stuff was this recording on her phone of them. Literally, you could hear them killing her.
So basically, that's terrible.
And they considered it an honor killing. When they were caught, they said, no, this was to bring back honor to our family.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
And this kind of thing obviously used to happen a fair amount, hundreds of years ago. I'm assuming, obviously, unfortunately, terrible things happen all the time, but it's amazing, as a society and how things have changed. It's really appalling. Just this, looking at this folklore and just thinking about how women were kind of thought of this lesser thing, and it's just it's wow, it's something else.
And the fact that they would rather die
Oh
than
yeah, I mean
go
that's
through with whatever,
right, because that was, which country was that one where
prearranged
she jumped off?
marriage.
Was it the Czech Republic where she? Or no, that was Fasting for Forgiveness. That was the one where she jumped off the balcony. Which country was that one?
The
The last one.
Canada, she did that, and then Malta, she jumped off the balcony of the
Because
place
they were
that she
forcing
lived.
her to marry someone
she
they
was
didn't
marrying
want
somebody
to.
she didn't want to. Yeah,
Yeah.
which
And I mean, even like close to us, you know, I'm sure if we do the one for America and all the states and that, you know, there will be a lot of different ones. But Esther Hale is a real popular one that's basically, that one's not really so much about the woman being abused, but essentially she was stood up at the altar and her husband never showed up. And then she basically got depressed and I forget if she killed herself or what, but
she basically starved herself to death. She wouldn't leave her house.
Yeah.
And they literally found her, according to the legend, is they found her in her cabin. The door was wide open. There was snow actually literally coming into her house. And she was just sitting by the window, still in her wedding dress from months and months ago.
Yeah.
And she was just dead. She was just a corpse inside this wedding dress.
So she's basically, I mean, she's a woman in white as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, she has legends like you stop on a bridge and turn your headlights on and off so many times that she'll, like, show up and you'll grow old and she'll grow young again and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of other stories, too. But it's just, I didn't realize, I guess there's so many women in white legends. One thing that I did see that I found interesting, it's less of a legend, but I kind of found that interesting when I was kind of going through in Japan. In Japanese folklore, here we go, the Yuri or the Onryo or Aniroyo, I don't know, are frequently depicted as women with long black hair and white dresses. This is due to these spirits commonly appearing in the condition they died. In a Japanese culture, people are buried in white kimonos. The depiction was cemented for the rest of the world by Japanese horror stories and films such as The Ring or Ju-on. So I kind of find that, so that's, I didn't really realize that that's why you see that so much, but that's traditionally, at least how they used to be buried, if not still.
Yeah.
Because they bury in white kimonos, so that's why you see so many Japanese ghosts
in white.
dressed that way,
Yeah.
because that's how they're buried, so that's how they're depicted, because that was the last thing they were wearing, so that's what their ghost would be wearing. I didn't realize that. I just thought it was kind of more of like a creep thing, which I mean it is, but
yeah,
you know,
like a lot of
reason behind it.
these brides, like they were buried in their wedding dresses, like after they leapt to their deaths or whatever they did, they were buried in their wedding dress, and so that's why they're depicted in that dress when they're seen, you know, haunting whatever area they're at.
So I was kind of trying to find one. I was kind of trying to find one here that maybe like ended. I don't know if you want to say a happy ending, but like an ending that's not the woman just being like abused or terrible. So there's the one from Norway. No idea how to say it. Den Dame. At the Ustin Abbey, Norwegian Ustlin Kloster, and whatever, it's in Norway, is a white lady that haunts the former abbey. She is Cecil Whitting Garman, and she died in, it looks like, 1759. She died during childbirth. Her husband promised that he would never remarry, but after 20 years he did. During the wedding in the cathedral, he claimed to see his former wife, Cecile. He fell into a coma and died a week later. Today, the ghost is still supposed to be able to see him at the monastery. So, I mean, that one, I mean, hey, I mean, well, in this case, I guess the guy didn't really do much besides just to bury someone 20 years later after his previous wife died.
Yeah.
But, like, at least, like, he didn't abuse her and kill her or anything. Like, she just supposedly, you know, the connotation here is that she was mad and she appeared and then he died. So she was like, you said you won't.
You said you won't marry, and you did.
So there's one where, like, you know, at least the woman's kind of getting to be the asshole. Good for you. Good for you. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, a lot of these just kind of had terrible little dark turns. Dark turns there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly women just leaping to their deaths and
Yeah. Being in creepy white dresses.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that, you know, I mean, I think we'll kind of leave it at that. don't like to make these episodes like super, super long, and if we ever want to do another episode, like a part 2, or like I said, if we want to do one like based on the United States, because there's plenty of content to research and stuff like that. If there's anything you want us to cover in the podcast or whatever, let us know in the comments. Also, let us know if you like these kind of videos. It also, of course, helps a lot to just like, subscribe, and click that notification bell. We got some jingle bells. I appreciate the jingle bells before the Christmas season's over and Kim goes back to her cowbell, because if you watch the previous episode, oh my lord, that thing is loud. Because we had a cute little pumpkin bell for the Halloween season, and now we're on to jingle bells. Keeping it themed. I'm assuming we'll probably have some kind of Christmas podcast thing, because we did one last year as like Christmas legends. So maybe we'll find more like Christmas legends to cover or something like that. If you have any suggestions about that too, about like a Christmas spooky thing episode, because like obviously everyone knows about Krampus, so like last year we tried to like cover things like there was a cat that like came and ate you if you like didn't get clothes for Christmas or something like that.
Yule cat.
Yeah, the Yule cat, which of course was my for the thumbnail on the YouTube for that was my cat with like so maybe we'll find something else to do there. Also, check out our Patreon if you want to help support us, because again, we are a smaller channel, so that helps us a lot. And thank you to the couple subscribers that we do have now. I think that about does it. Thank you very much for listening and or watching. We upload the podcast every Friday. It's just kind of on there. We put it on at midnight, so it goes to the other ones, and then the YouTube video will be 5 o'clock on Saturday if you want to watch the video for them. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.